Okay, so welcome to Kitely, and well, if you have a look around, it's a different Kitely than you're maybe used to, and that's because we're down in the swamp today, getting ready for Halloween. This is where we'll have our Halloween sessions in October, but I thought that today's session would kind of lend itself to it. Now, I was explaining to Nina just now, and I thought I'll stream it so that people can understand. This sim isn't like the Academy sim. Okay, we've got the Academy, which is the one you're used to ending up in. Okay, so let me just, you go to Kitely, you go to the Learn English Network Academy, you enter the world. You can also go to it via Hypergrid. It's open. It's open. The access is open to anyone. Anyone who's a member of Kitely, anyone who's a member of any OpenSim grid. Okay, and of course any network member. But we've got some little simlets, smaller simulations, which are not open to anybody. You can only come here if you are a member of the network and an LEN member. Okay, Shiny's having problems logging in. Now,
Okay.
they're also only open during sessions. So when there's a session like now, I open it, I make it accessible to LEN members. At the end of the session, I close it. You won't be able to come back here. So don't be surprised. Well, the thing is, it can be a bit of a shock because you're expecting to come back here the next time you log on. You won't come back here. So the next time you log on after a session where you've been in, I don't know, our summer sim, our winter sim, autumn, Halloween, whatever, then you need to log in via Kitely and go to the Network Academy to make sure you end up in the network. Otherwise you might end up, I don't know, in the Welcome Centre for Kitely, that kind of thing, because you won't be able to come back to the last place you logged in. It will be closed. Okay?
So don't save the landmark.
Don't take a landmark. No, no.
Yeah, I got it now.
Okay, good. Yeah. But of course you're welcome here. You can come here. I just sent you an invitation, so it's all good. Now, if there is a session and I send you an invite and you can't get in, make sure you're an LE Network member. And if you still can't get in, send me a message, because it might mean I've forgotten to set the permissions to allow network members in. It does happen. I do forget things. Hi, Shiny. Well done.
No worries.
You got in. Awesome. Welcome to the swamp. I think it's the perfect one for our Halloween sessions. And I decided we'd test it out today for our drama session. Okay. Now I'm just checking in the network group. Okay, good. Everybody's here. Then, did you notice what we're going to be reading in today's session? Who was being observant? Nina, did you notice?
We will read something scared.
No. It's not October yet. No. We're going to do something autumnal. Okay. Autumn is, of course, a season.
Yeah.
Now, do you know what Americans call it? They don't use the same word. Fall. Yeah, not. Oh, that looks like a Swedish word. Fall. Yeah, Americans call autumn fall. I guess because that's when the leaves fall off the tree, maybe.
Fall.
Same thing, same season. Now, in Europe, fall actually began officially with the autumn equinox on the 22nd of September. So just a few days ago it began. But I tend to look at it in a less exact manner. I always think that autumn begins in September and ends in December. But a lot of more exact people talk about the autumn equinox being the official beginning of autumn. Okay. And this is the season where we're moving from summer to winter. So what kind of things do you think about, Nina, when you think of autumn? Do you have an autumn in your country?
Yes, of course.
Is it you say
the
of course,
same
but
name
a lot of
autumn?
people don't.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nina. Is it the
No.
same?
Sorry, your voice breaking.
Oh, okay. You were saying, is it the same? But I didn't catch.
Yeah, he's the same.
Okay,
He's the same.
so what sort of things happen in your country in autumn, Nina?
Oh, the leaf down on the floor. It's no good.
So the
But
leaves
it's
fall off the trees onto the ground. Unless you have
onto the
trees,
ground.
yeah, unless you have trees in your house.
Outside.
Yeah, the floor
On the street. Yeah.
tends, yeah, the floor tends to be inside a building. Okay. Where
The weather is really cold.
it gets cold, yeah? What do you mean by really
Yeah.
cold?
So,
Come on.
oh, I'm really shaking like a leaf. It's so cold. You
What
need to
temperature?
drink some. Yeah, the temperature.
Yeah, but
The spring
what
leaf
kind
is
of
really.
temperature do you call cold? That's what I'm wondering.
Oh, I lost my mind.
So roughly what temperature does it reach? About what temperature does
Oh,
it? Yeah.
average. It's about 18 degrees, 15 degrees. For me, it's cold.
Freezing.
For me,
Okay. Here,
I warm, no? But for me, here in Brazil, it's cold.
yeah, it's warm. So autumn temperatures in the UK. It really varies, by the way. In Europe, in the UK, autumn can be warm or cold, or just mild. Okay. The average sort of temperature in autumn, it depends where you're going, but it's about 14 degrees, maybe as low as 7 degrees. The highest is 14 degrees. That's a warm day. So a warm day here in autumn is 14 degrees centigrade. Okay. A coldish day, a cold day would be 7 degrees.
Really?
Yeah. And of course we can get frost in autumn. Everybody starts to bring their plants inside because they could be killed outside. They die off outside. Everything in my garden is dying at the moment. We're cutting everything back. We're getting it ready for winter. What about you, Shiny?
You
Have you got voice? Under zero, under freezing. Yeah, wow. What kind of temperatures do you experience then, Shiny, during autumn?
Just chilly. It, it it won't be cold because it's autumn. You know that it's still warm during the day, but it will turn to be chill during the night.
So it gets a lot colder at night. I don't know if you noticed in the weather section, Nina, April was complaining about how cold it was, and she's put the heating on. She's put the central heating on. So Artem's trying to join us. Let's see if he can. We'll have to see. Hopefully he will be able to. I think he's a member, so let me just see if he's a member.
He always use in this season conditioner, but never
Air
heat.
conditioning! Wow!
Yeah.
No, the air conditioning, I mean, we don't have air conditioning at home. Personally, for the few days it gets hot enough to use it. We have it in the car, but no, we tend not to use it in autumn at all. So let me just make sure Artem's in the group. This is where you absolutely need to be in the LEN members group. I think he is. He should be. No, he's already in the group, so he should be able to join us. Okay, we are in a different sim.
Artem, he is in this group. Yeah.
Yeah. It might be that he's off to do something else, but I will offer him one more teleport, and then there you go. That'll do. Do you know roughly what temperatures you experience, Shiny? Have you got any medium temperatures, any average temperatures for autumn in your country, Shiny?
Yes, I guess, but I have to check it.
Yeah, that's okay. Have a look. Have a look. So, what sort of things do you do around the house, outside? What do you see happening around you during autumn, Nina? Do you have harvest, or do you have any festivals in autumn?
Don't remember we have some party of commemoration here, but it's, I don't know. I don't know.
Shani, could you mute? We've got the crickets back.
Sorry, I thought I muted.
No problems. Thank you. Sorry, so, I mean, somebody posted in the forum that in China it's the Mooncake Festival, which we actually did a topic on, a couple of years ago, on the Mooncake Festival, where all the bakeries start selling these things called mooncakes, and it's called the Autumn Festival. So, hi Autumn! Yay, Dope's here! Oh, we'll have to wait for his voice to catch up. Hi Dope. Okay, so sometimes when we move sims, it does, if you've not got a very strong connection, it can take time for your voice to catch up with you. But hopefully, Autumn, you'll be able to speak soon.
So, Lynn, we have both in Brazil, but in south of Brazil.
Oh, okay.
In Rio Grande do Sul, example. Maybe on festival on Kaikan Club here, I remember now. But it's Chinese festival.
Oh, okay.
No Brazilian.
Yeah, we do similar sorts of things in England as well. There are different cultures, and different cultures celebrate different things.
Yeah, it happened in Brazil in autumn. Yeah.
Can you think of any English celebrations that happen every autumn? Do you know of any?
Here?
No, anywhere in England. Do you know of any? Have you read about any?
I don't know.
Well, you've heard of Halloween.
I don't know.
I mean, that's every autumn, Halloween.
What the exact date it happened?
End of October.
Oh.
Okay.
Here have some similar festivals, Halloween festivals, parties, and customers.
Costumes. I think you mean.
Costumes.
Costumes.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about dope? Dope. What do you think of when you think of autumn? Do you have an autumn season in your country?
Yeah, very long one.
Yeah, with lots of sunflowers.
Yeah, but it's just about to start. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's beginning, isn't it? Harvest.
Leaves, yeah, leaves started to change their color from green to yellow,
Yeah,
and lots of
yellow,
red
gold,
also
and
I have.
red. Yeah, the
Yeah, soon
leaves.
they will fall off.
Yeah, in Germany, everybody always hopes for a golden October. They call it Goldener Oktober, and it's when the leaves change to a specific colour, and it really does. The forests, there are a lot of forests in
Yeah.
Germany. They look like they're made of gold. They're
In
amazing.
parks, very beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
lovely time of
But
year.
when I was a child, when I was a child, I liked more red color. In the park, lots of children
Oh, when I was a
until now
child. A
still gathering
child.
there.
Child.
Yes,
Yeah. Try it again.
child.
Child. That's better. Yeah, it sounded like chat when you said it
Child?
earlier. Yeah, child. Gotta get that old in the end.
I was a child.
That's better. Child.
When I was a child.
I'll make you sound like a Brit soon. Very good. Very good. Yes, and children love playing in the leaves. We like rustling through the leaves. Now, what else is there in the UK in
Huge
autumn?
falls. Because of huge falls.
Yeah. We
And
also
jump.
have Bonfire
And jump
Night
into
in the UK in November. So in November, we celebrate Bonfire Night. Have you heard of Bonfire Night?
Nope.
Okay, then I'm going to give you just a couple of little links. If you're interested, you can read about them. Okay.
Give me a clue.
Lynn.
Dope.
Lynn, you're using our private. You see, you send messages only to me.
Oh, thank you. Ah, okay. Thank you. Yeah, let me shut you down. Thanks for letting me know. No, it happens. It happens. These separate. Okay, let me just type them up. There you go.
To have us.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks a lot. It happens a lot to me, I tell you. Okay, so we have several. As I say, there are several nice, what I call nice, celebrations in the UK. I'm not sure if you can call Bonfire Night a nice celebration, though, to be honest, because, yeah, sometimes it can be seen as a little bit racist in a way, I'm afraid. But, yeah, what can I say?
But there's too many leaves to carry them away. So it would be easy to set them on fire. Right?
Well, exactly. I mean, it's the perfect time for Bonfire Night because there's lots of dead wood, lots of leaves, but the reasons behind Bonfire Night, people do question it as to whether we should celebrate it still. Okay, so but it's worth reading about. We won't discuss it today. It's not November yet, but maybe in November we can talk about it. Then, of course, I mentioned Halloween. Now, Halloween is full of different things that we do, from dressing up in costumes to telling scary stories. But we also have what we call Harvest Harvest Festival. Now, Harvest Festival is lovely, and it's when the harvest comes in from the fields. People celebrate it in different ways. Some are a little pagan, some are a little Christian. It's a mixture. people make corn dollies out of the threshed corn, the stalks. They weave them into different shapes, and sometimes they make corn dollies. And there's a lot of giving during Harvest Festival. People give parts of the harvest or food to charities, to old people's homes, to the homeless, that kind of thing. And that still actually takes place, usually organised by groups, though. So people like the Lion Club, the Round Table. But there are...
Do you feel Chucky? Chucky.
I didn't catch that.
Chucky did it.
Do we what each other?
Yeah, Chucky. Do you hear about the Chucky?
Did I hear
Story.
about
The scary story about Chucky.
I don't know. Could you type it up? Because I
Okay,
didn't catch...
yeah.
I heard...
It's
Did you hear
a horror
about
movie. Yeah, Chucky. The name, Chucky. I think it's like that.
Chucky, the doll? No, I don't watch stuff like that. Dope. I don't watch horror stories. Yeah.
Oh, I know, Dope.
Yeah, I know I know of Chucky. By the way, it's Chucky. Chucky. And it's best to say Chucky the doll, because then people know what you're talking about. No, we're not going to do Halloween until October, but it is an autumn festival. Do you have any autumn festivals, Dope? Do you know of any that are in your culture?
No, I don't think so.
No?
No.
Do you celebrate the harvest? When the harvest has finished, do you celebrate it?
Yeah, but nothing special.
Nothing special, okay.
Nothing special.
Well, a lot of places, they will, for example, in grape growing areas, vineyards, they often have a big party once all the harvest is in. And the same on bigger farms and small farms in the UK, they'll throw a party for the workers when the harvest is complete. And as I say, the harvest festivals are really nice, much nicer than Halloween or Bonfire Night. Okay, but today we're going to read about autumn. We're actually going to read a poem. It's a short poem, so we should all be able to read all of it. Now, I don't know where Shiny's... Oh, there you are, Shiny. Shiny, are there any autumn festivals, or harvest festivals, I should say, where you live? Oh, Shiny, have you got voice?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good. So are there any harvest festivals that you know of in your country?
Like you say, because it's a season of harvest, they grow rice, so it's kind of celebrated. How to say it?
Yeah, there's a celebration. Yeah, it's celebrated. That's perfect. Yeah.
Shiny, what about the cherry blossom when cherry started to fall the leaves of very beautiful to witness, I think.
I think that's in spring, though.
I think it's very famous.
Yeah, but that's a spring festival. Yeah.
Spring?
Spring, yes. Early in the year. Autumn is late in the year, before winter. Spring is after winter, and I've heard of the cherry blossom festivals too, yes. They are beautiful, or they look beautiful. But I think it's important to celebrate harvest and bounty and food, and the people who grow the food should be celebrated too. If it wasn't for farmers, we'd all starve. And starving is no fun. But today we're going to read a poem about autumn, and it's called Autumn. It's that easy. Now, are you aware of the poem? Have you ever heard of the poem Autumn?
No.
Okay, it's by John Keats, a very famous poet. Okay. And it's called To Autumn. It's like an ode. Now, do you know what an ode is?
Old.
Ode, not
No.
old, ode. It's a poem that's written to a subject. It's about a particular topic, and it's normally to celebrate that topic. Okay.
Like
It's very
a sonnet.
structured. A sonnet is more sort of Shakespearean, more about love, and there's a very formal. I think you're only allowed so many lines in a sonnet. An ode is more flexible than that. Okay. Sonnets are actually, I believe, because we often talk about Shakespearean sonnets, but I think it was Shakespeare borrowed them from the Italians, I believe. But no, this is an ode, and that's why it's called To Autumn. By calling it To Autumn, he's actually speaking about, but also to autumn.
I think you love the autumn because you can drink a cup of tea or a huge cup of hot chocolate.
Ah, hot chocolate starts in winter for me. But yes, it's that kind of thing. You have to have something to look forward to in these seasons, I think. Because if you don't, you can get very, I don't know, just depressed. The winter is beginning, so the days grow shorter, the nights grow longer.
But you can put a fire on the fireplace and invite your friends for talk about something or watch a film. I think, yeah, but I understand you.
Yeah, there are things to, as I say, having things to look forward to. Okay, so we'll look at this. There's only 3 verses, so we'll look at it verse by verse. Okay. So read it silently to start with, and then I'll read it to you. In fact, I'll read it to you, and as you read along, I'll get you to read it afterwards, but we'll just talk about the vocabulary first, okay? But I'll read it to you to start with. So, season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run, to bend with apples the mossed cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core, to swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with a sweet kernel to set budding more, and still more later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has o'erbrimmed their clammy cells. Okay? So let's take it line by line. Season of mists and mellow fruitfulness. What do you think he means there?
Mist is just the moisture.
Moisture
Season
in the
of
air.
water.
Yeah, but in the air. Okay. And we get a lot of mist in autumn in the UK, especially anywhere along the coast because of the sea, and along rivers because of the water in the rivers. Where I grew up in Nottingham, we have the River Trent, and around the River Trent in autumn we often get heavy fog, but we also get mist. Mist is a light fog. Okay? So you can imagine that suddenly from bright summer days we've got more foggy days. And suddenly the fog starts to appear.
Zero sound.
And what do you mean by mellow fruitfulness?
I think it's just fruitfulness. It's like if to compare to the woman, it's like who don't have can't have a child, like in this season like it doesn't have any, it, nothing is growing, so Emil is not happy.
No,
Not
nothing's
happy
growing,
situation.
but it's fruitful as in the things that have grown. So, for example, apples and pears, damsons and plums, lots of fruit. So it is a fruitful season. Yes, you can talk about somebody being fruitful, as in having lots of children and being able to bear children. But this is talking about the harvest of fruit that we get. Blackberries, they start to appear on in the hedgerows in the autumn. There is an abundance of fruit in autumn in the UK. So lots and lots of fruit that's been growing over the summer is suddenly ready to pick, ready to harvest. And that's what it means by mellow weather, mellow, nothing too harsh, not too hot, not too cold, and lots of food to eat, to preserve for the winter, to get ready for winter.
There is, in my city, in my neighborhood particularly, there is everywhere watermelon is being sold, you know. You will never skip any cart without
Okay. Yeah,
seeing
yeah.
some watermelon, you know. It's there everywhere.
And I thought you'd only got sunflowers. But what we tend to get at this time of year, we do get watermelon in the supermarkets because, of course, it's imported. But what you'll find in the fields round here is apples, sweet corn, pears, damsons, plums, greengages, and quince. Quince grows here all over the place. I've no idea what you do with it.
So it's a productive season.
It
like
is, yeah, very, very. What you're basically doing in autumn is, if you've been planting, if you've been growing things, you're reaping the benefit of what you've sown, what you've grown. You can suddenly start to eat it instead of just look after it, tend it, water it. Okay, the next line, close bosom friend of the maturing sun. We don't often say bosom friend anymore because bosom has become a little bit giggly for children. But it just means very close friend, like bestie, a BFF if you like.
Best friends.
Yeah. And why call the sun maturing? Why say the maturing sun?
I don't know, maybe because the sun is getting higher and higher farther of us.
Yeah, it's basically
What do you think of it?
starting. Well, it's starting to leave us a little bit, isn't it? It's the days we were mentioning the weather earlier. The days get colder. It's not got its full strength anymore. And come winter, we tend to think of spring as being young, summer as being kind of the middle part of the year, autumn the year is beginning to grow old, and winter we think of old age for winter. We talk about the winter of somebody's years. You can also talk about, she's in the autumn of her years. She's getting older, but she's not old yet. I'm in the autumn of my years. Okay. Now, with fruit, the vines that round the thatch eaves run. So we've mentioned the fruit. Vines, you all know what vines are? I have a vine growing outside. What sort of fruit might grow on a vine?
Grapes.
Grapes, yes, well done. Yeah, grapes. There you are, you get a bunch of grapes. Grapes grow on vines. That's why we call farms, if you like, that grow grapes, that make wine, we call them vineyards. like vineyards, vineyards.
My aunt has a wine in the back garden.
A vine.
Vine.
A
Yeah.
vine in the back garden. Does she make wine?
No.
No? Oh, it's a
No.
shame. No, we have a vine. It grows along the fence outside our house, but we don't make wine. We just leave the grapes. We sometimes juice them to make some grape juice, but then the most of the time we just leave them for the birdies. And the birds eat them and then they poop everywhere. It's terrible. They're very messy, but they need to eat. They need to eat. I can always wash the steps. Sorry, you were saying something, Nina.
She has a little tree in the back garden. Just it.
Not a tree, a vine.
A vine, yeah.
Yeah.
A vine.
Yeah, it's not a tree. You can have an apple tree, a pear tree, a partridge in a pear tree, if you think about the Christmas song, but a vine for grapes. Okay, good. Okay, the next one. Oh, you know about the thatch eaves. Okay, with fruit, the vines that round the thatch eaves run. Do you know what an eave is? If you live in a house, you've got one. You've all got one. Oh, let me just turn it to midday. Oh, that's better. It was getting a bit dark to see. I like being able to just switch the lights on. Okay, the eaves and thatch. If you think of a thatched cottage, I'll have to share an image with you. Bear with me a second. Images. Thatched cottage. Okay, when you think of England, you might think of these kind of cottages, which we call thatched cottages. Okay. This is in Hampshire. And thatch is a roofing material. It's made of a special thatching straw. It's a very skilled job. Now the eave of a house, the eaves, are part of the roof. Okay?
I feel huge desire to set it on fire.
No! Don't do that. It costs you a fortune. They're very expensive. You don't want to be doing that. So we often say eve for night time, but we also have eaves of a house, which is part of the roof. Okay? The eaves. And it's the bit that just meets the building. Okay? So that bit where you see the thatch meet the walls, that's the thatch eaves. And you can imagine vines growing up that cottage and spreading out. Not many people would allow that anymore because it can damage the wall, but in the past maybe. Then to bend with apples the mossed cottage trees. Is that kind of clear? Shiny, what do you think? Is that clear to you, what he's trying to describe? The picture he's trying to paint in your mind?
Yeah, I think it's like this, because sun is not, if you take a look at the sun directly, it doesn't have ages. It's like rays. The sun constantly throwing the rays off, and this rays which you see surround the sun, it's like the sun is glowing, and and something like that. And this is this race is he describes this race like setting sun, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's saying that the sun has shone onto the trees and the apples have grown on the trees, and now the tree is so heavy with apples that the boughs of the tree, that where the branches of the tree where the apples are growing, are bending with the weight of the apples. You can imagine, because apples are quite heavy, and you get enough of them on a branch, then the branches bend with the weight, and the sun's conspired. The sun has worked to do that, to create this bounty of food. Oh, have you got no voice? Oh, no. Oh, 222, sorry, Shiny, no voice. Couldn't hear you. Have you unmuted? Can you hear us, Shiny?
I mean, I can't hear
Okay.
Shiny just.
No, I was just wondering if Shiny could hear us, but never mind. You'll have to just listen, but you can type up any answer. Ah, I can hear you now. Yay!
Yeah, I think it's my connection.
I think lots of people does I mean who how to say, they usually tie their trunks but not too low, because sometimes the body of the trees is broken because of too many fruits on it.
Yeah.
So they usually tie them up to something.
Yeah.
To some pole,
Especially
metallic pole.
Especially vines. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Shiny. Can you mute? We've got a lot of feedback. Ah, it is your connection, I'm afraid. Okay. So yes, you're right, Dope. Quite often with vines especially, people will tie the vines to support them, and also with very old trees, sometimes people build almost scaffolding underneath the branches of the trees to help support them. That's very true. It is your bad connection, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's sad, but it is the case that we've got the a lot of feedback as well, Shiny, not just breaking up, but there's a lot of almost screeching through your microphone, sadly. Okay, so the next part, it says, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core. You know what to ripen means, yeah? Nina, do you know what to ripen means? What happens if something ripens?
When something is maturity,
Yeah.
or maturation.
What do we associate to be ripe with, usually? Okay,
With maturation.
Yeah, but it's not just to do with age. What's the opposite of ripe? Anybody? Type it up if you can't use
Greenness. Greenness.
Immaturity, I think.
Nope, no. We talk about maturity and immaturity for people, but Shiny's got it. Food that's ready to eat. Not already ready to eat. Okay? And the opposite of ripe is unripe. Okay? So food that is ready to eat. Food that's been grown. Okay. You wouldn't talk about a ripe cow or mind you, could talk about a ripe steak, but generally we're talking about food that's been grown, that is ready to eat. So you don't tend to eat unripe fruit. To be honest, the apples in the basket here look ripe. They look nice and ripe and ready to eat. But the grapes, I think, actually the grapes in front of you, Nina, on the table, they look a bit unripe to me. What can happen if you eat unripe fruit?
You can have a headache.
Yeah, you can get headache, you can get a tummy ache, you can get an upset stomach, you can end up with diarrhea. Yeah, that's it, yeah. You can get tummy ache. Oh, don't eat that, it's not ripe. Oh, it's unripe. Yeah. So here they're talking, the poet, Keats, is talking about the ripeness of the fruit. That's what happens in autumn. Everything ripens. It's been growing all year. It's been growing since spring, maybe, but now it's ripening, ready to eat. Yum yum. To swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells. Do you all know what a hazel is? Hazel shell? What's that? What is a hazel?
I don't think it's like a disaster problem.
Nope.
No?
No. Hazel.
Brown cells.
Oh, I remember. April told me it's color. Right? No?
Brown? Yeah.
Grey color, something like that.
It's like an umber or section.
Okay. It's a colour. Hazel is a colour.
Right?
Yeah?
I'm right.
Okay. It can also describe somebody's eyes. I have hazel eyes. Okay.
Yeah. April has also grey eyes.
Grey eyes. Okay. But hazel, how can that relate to the poem? Here is said to swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells. Hazel is also a tree. It's a nut tree. And you can have a hazelnut. In fact, I've got some in a jar in my living room. I'd share them with you if I could. But here they're talking about the shells of the hazel tree, the nut. Okay? And they also ripen and become sweet and ready to eat in autumn. They're an autumn nut. Okay? So yes, hazel is a colour, and the name comes from the hazel tree. The hazelnut is this reddish brown. Okay? And he talks about the gourd as well. The gourd. The hazel and the gourd, or the gourd and the hazel. Can you think of any gourds very famous during Halloween? Well, a very famous gourd is the calabash. But we also use it to describe pumpkins. A summer haze. A summer haze is a little bit of mist and sunshine together. Okay. When the heat, you can also get a heat haze in summer, which is like a mirage. When the road gets so hot it starts to ripple. It's like the light above it ripples, and we call that a summer haze as well. But it can also mean a little mixture of sun and mist and that bright sun in the morning. But sometimes people call pumpkins gourds because they're that hard shell. Another crop that's very popular in the autumn. Pumpkin soup everywhere at the moment in all the cafes and restaurants. Pumpkin soup, roast pumpkin, pumpkin, mashed pumpkin, pumpkin with your pumpkin, pumpkin oil, pumpkin seeds. And then he mentions later flowers for the bees, and still more later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease. Because autumn, I can look outside, I can still see we've got some flowers. I've got flowers on my buddleia, which is a shrub, and I've got seeds on my aster, flowers on my aster, and on some of the lavender. There are still some late flowering plants in my garden, and the bees are desperately busy trying to get as much as they can from it. And at the end it says, for summer has o'er-brimmed their clammy cells. What do you think he's talking about here? The summer has o'er-brimmed their clammy cells. Whose clammy cells?
I don't know, but is yet cells? Wet or yet? Wet.
Clammy can mean wet and sticky, yeah.
Yeah.
Weather can be a bit clammy as well. When it gets hot and you start to sweat, oh, this weather's so oh, I feel all clammy. And your hands get clammy when they sweat. But clammy cells, this is relating to the bees. Can you think what might be?
Honey, honey.
Yay! Well done! Yeah, bees build cells in their beehives and they fill those cells with honey, ready for the winter to feed
What
the
is
baby
oil?
bees.
What is oil? Oil brim.
Or brim. Or. It's short for, anybody know?
Please, what word did you say?
Or.
Dog.
Or brimmed.
Oh, great.
It means...
Oh, before. When you say, well done, dog.
Honey. He said honey.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Brimming over is what it's saying there. Or brimmed. Or is often used in poetry instead of over. Because or is a single syllable. Over is two syllables. Yeah. Or brimmed. It's a very poetic word. Yeah. And brimmed here means to brim over. If you pour water into a cup and you pour too much water into it, it brims over. It goes over the brim of the cup. So you can imagine lots of honey in these cells till it's dripping down the side of the hive. It's brimming over. Do you like honey?
Yeah, but the quality of honey nowadays is awful where I live.
Depends where you buy it. Yeah, I know what you mean. If you buy the mass-produced honey, it's not so good. There's some very nice honey in France. If you go to the local markets, it's fabulous. And you can taste the difference between what you buy in the supermarket and what you buy from a proper apiary. An apiary is a place where they grow, where they keep bees. An apiary, okay? We have to do a bee I think we'll have to do a bee session actually. There's a whole load of stuff to do with bees that's very specialist. Okay, so I've read to you. We have discussed it. I think it's time for you guys to read it yourself. So, Nina, would you like to read that first verse? Okay?
Okay, I will try. Oh my god. Season of mist and mellow fruitfulness. Close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless, and bliss, I don't know, with fruit the vines that round the truss eaves run, to bend with apples the most cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core, to swell the gond and plump the racel shells, which a sweet kernel, to set budding more, and still more, later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never crease, for someone has overbrain, I don't know, I forgot this to pronounce, their climbing cells. Sorry, I...
Do not apologise, that was really well done. Well done. Okay, let's have a look at the single words. Conspiring is from the verb to conspire. It's like spies conspire. It's to get together and make a plan and to plot, to conspire. So, conspiring. Try it.
Conspiring.
Good. And then,
okay.
Yeah, perfect. And then bless.
Bless.
Yeah, to bless somebody, you go for blessing. Bless you, when somebody sneezes, we say bless you.
Yeah.
And then this next one, I knew this would be a problem. Thatch eaves.
Thatch eaves.
Good. And then again, remember when AGE is at the end of a word, sometimes it's udge, sometimes it's age, sometimes it's idge. This is an idge. Cottage.
Cottage.
Yay, lovely. Then ripeness. To be ripe, ripeness.
Ripeness.
Good. Hazel.
Hazel.
Yep. Budding, from to bud.
Budding.
Yeah, so when roses start to flower, they get a rosebud. It's not open yet, but you can see the colour that the rose is going to be. It's all closed up. We call that a bud. And budding, to bud, is also a verb. And then the last one, not crease, cease.
Cease.
Yeah, cease and desist. Never cease, never give up, never stop. That's it. Very good. Well done. Well done. Okay, we're going to try Shiny right at the end. So, Dope, if you can read that verse.
Season of mist and mellow fruitfulness, close blossom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless. With fruit the vines that ground the thatched eaves run, to bend with apples the most cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core, to swell the gourd and plums the hazel shells, with sweet kernel to set budding more, and still more, later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has overbrimmed their clumsy cells.
Very good, well done. Couple of words, yeah, couple of words still. This isn't easy, I know, but let's look at them word by word. Same one, thatch eaves. In fact, I always spell it eaves. This is an American poetry site. So, thatch eaves. It is
Thatch
a little bit of a, yeah, it's a tongue twister.
Thatch eaves.
Thatch eaves. That's it. It almost runs together. Oh, look at those thatch eaves. Dope.
Ripeness, plump, clumsy cells.
Plump. You've got to get that p at the end.
Thatch
Otherwise,
eaves.
it sounds like
Thatch
plum
eaves.
or plum.
Ripeness.
Oh.
Plums.
Plum, plum, and plump. Okay, sorry, I'd muted my mic by mistake. So, thatch eaves. Ripeness.
Thatch eaves.
Yeah, ripeness.
Ripeness.
Yeah,
Thatch
so-
eaves, ripeness.
Yeah, so you've got to rip, but to ripen. And ripeness comes from to ripen, okay?
Right.
Okay, and then plump, you've got to get the p at the end, because plum is a fruit, to plumb the depths, and a plumber, to plumb with a B. You've got to get that P to say plump, as in slightly fat. You can describe people as plump if they're a little bit overweight. Okay, plump.
Mm.
And then the last one, clammy cells.
Clammy cells.
Perfect, well done. Shiny, do you want to try your mic? Do you want to see if you can read this? Read the verse.
Yes, yes, yes.
Good, good, good. Go for it. Quick.
Thank you. Season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that run, the thatches run, to bend with apples the most cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core, to swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with the sweet kernel, to set the budding more, and still more later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has o'erbrimmed their clammy cells.
Well done. Very good. Now, don't forget that Shiny had the benefit of listening to you, Nina, and you, Dope, and hearing the corrections, but very good. Just the two little words here. The first one, most. Be careful, not most, but moss and mossy. Does everybody know what moss is?
Kind of grass, not a grass.
Yeah, it's a lichen that grows on trees, on the bark of trees, and it's something you'll notice if you go to the UK, especially the Midlands and further north. Not so much the south, can happen, but the Midlands and north. It's the moss. You see it everywhere, on walls, on houses, on the ground, on the street, on the pavements, on the trees. There's moss everywhere. It's this green lichen. It loves the damp air that we have in the UK.
I went to school, and when I went to school, and on one subject, one teacher told us how to determine your location. I think where is the south or where is the west, with usage of moss.
That's right. You look for where it's growing on the tree, and if it's growing on one side of the tree, you can figure out, okay, it's that direction that the moss is pointing, that's north, because it doesn't grow in the sun, it grows in the damp, darker conditions, in the shade, in the shadow. Foggy-ish. Mossy isn't fog, no. You'd always say foggy. Yeah, foggy.
Moss, I think, is what is left of vampires, I think.
Maybe, I don't know. But scientifically speaking, it's just a plant that grows and it's green, and it just creates a layer over things. Doesn't need soil. It grows on anything in the right conditions. Yeah, very green. Very green. Let's see if I can find something mossy. Hey, here's some mossy trees for you. Hang on. Very mossy trees, in fact. Let me just see if I can share the link. Now, these trees are extremely mossy. I don't know if they're from the UK, but imagine that. That's mossy. But it's the one thing I notice when I go back to the UK.
It's too mossy.
It's too mossy, yeah. But when I go back to the UK, it's the one thing I notice. Oh my goodness, look at all the moss. You get moss. You get moss in Germany. You do get it, but not that much moss. Not everywhere like you get in the UK.
Oh, so much moss.
A lot of moss, yes. Now, moss can also be used as a good, if you are doing survival, you can use it to filter water. That's what it does. It's like nature's sponge, yeah? Moss is nature's sponge. Okay, but very nicely read, Shiny. Well done. Then the last one is ripeness. Again, not, it's silent E, not ripeness, just ripeness. Try it.
Ripeness.
Ripeness.
No, you said ripeness again. Ripe. Ripeness.
Ripeness.
Perfect. Well done. You sounded almost Italian. Italians do that. Ripeness. It's the ripe tree. But ripeness, because the E is silent. Well done. So, I think we'll stop there. But I hope you enjoyed the session. I hope you learned some new vocabulary.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're
I
welcome.
think I think I memorized already everything.
Well, the thing is,
I don't know what I forgot.
I mean, this poem, it's advanced for English learners, but this is the sort of poem we learn at school, okay? We learn it by heart, and it's taught in sort of like from when you're about 10 years old, you start learning this kind of poetry. And you learn a lot about the language and pronunciation from poetry, but also about culture as well. I love it. It's one of my favourite poems, so I'm glad I was able to share it with you.
Who wrote it?
John Keats. Or we often just say Keats. He's so famous we don't use his first name. We just say Keats. Like Byron and Shakespeare. Yeah, when you become really famous, nobody uses your first name anymore. Or they only use one part of your name. That's real fame. Like Pink. Sting. Oh, well, I hope you enjoy it as well. I hope it's enjoyable too. I don't want it to be a slog, but as I say, I like sharing this kind of... I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, poetry, but I think it's a lovely way to learn. I even read German poetry now, believe it or not. Okay, so take care, and I'll see you hopefully around. There will be a pop-up session today, sometime in Discord. It'll either be before 5 o'clock or after 5 o'clock. I have a German lesson at 5, so it won't be at 5. That's all I can tell you at the moment. It depends on how quickly I can do the accounts and get them not finished, but get them to the point where I'm aiming for today.
Your face right in my camera, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I see like your lips.
Okay, there you go. I can stream you like that as well, Dope. Thanks for taking part, and thanks for having a go at reading poetry. It was very, I'm really impressed. Well done. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye. Thanks. And thanks. Bye bye.